Hey everybody, now that the mystery is over, it's time to announce who out of all the submissions, and we got a lot of submissions, who was our detective of the Ark. Thank you everybody who did send something in. They were all really good submissions. Honestly, I think for some reason, because we framed it as a mini mystery, I didn't expect as many people to be so invested in solving it. But I really enjoyed going through and reading all of your submissions and your suggestions, and it was really lovely. Dani as well. We went through them all together, and it was really fun. I think a lot of you are really good at this. You're getting better every mystery. So, but all that aside, we had a submission from someone who, after only 15 minutes of episode 2, so episode 1.5, I suppose, sent in their theory. And look, I didn't speak to the murderer till right at the end, so I don't think they could have gotten much closer. But they were the first person at an earlier stage to start thinking about the key issue in this mystery, the use of AI. They may have got the killer slightly wrong, but they talked about using AI to write, having that proven, and having that be the key motivation, lining that in to the phone reception and access to ChatGPT in the valley compared to up to the top of the hill. Really cool stuff that came out before, in terms of the timeline of it, that I had any idea any of that would be relevant. So, congratulations to Detective of the Ark, Asher de Arville. You smashed it, Asher. A really good theory. All right, into the full autopsy so you can listen to the full breakdown. Welcome to Solve This Murder. I'm your coroner, Bill.
And I'm your mortuary assistant, Dani.
We just finished I know we named it midway through recording. We've just finished
The Jeopardies of Journalism.
Jeopardies of Journalism. It was fun. It was still 4 parts.
It was.
It was a very mini mystery.
I really intended it to be smaller. I think that if you had spoken to people in a different order, it might have been smaller.
I suppose it's just, that's always the way, right? Like, I don't know who to talk to. I don't know what Rowan's going to say. I don't know what Nicola's going to say. And when someone says something, I'm left with a choice of, do I ignore it and collect more, or do I follow it? Because
absolutely, it was mainly Baxter. It was his house. I assumed that you'd get talking to him faster than part 3 or whatever.
Yeah,
and
that find the body.
That just would have meant that you didn't have to ruminate on certain elements that you did.
True, that's true. But yeah, it is an interesting thing because there's an issue, and it's easy to see in hindsight to be like, oh, you should have done this, you should have done that. But there's always this thing of like, if you go and talk to everybody, you get a good grounding in everybody's opinions, and then you can have stuff to talk about. But also, if you follow up on individual people's info, then you are armed with something so that in your next conversation, you can say, what do you think of this? What's your opinion on that? And it saves, it means that you can have more meaningful conversations. And I think sometimes I like to err on that side, because otherwise there's always a risk of a sort of sameness for the listener, where parts 1, 2, and 3 of a mystery are learning the exact same series of facts from 5 different people.
Yes.
And I have no way to push these further because I haven't done any other investigations.
It's what makes this very difficult as far as podcasting goes.
Well, exactly. And so I don't think I would have changed my... I don't think I've learned a lesson from this to change my investigative method, because I think I did usually have something new to bring up in each of these conversations. The worry then is that new thing, it's hard to go back. It took me a while to I assumed a lot of Natalie's motivations before going back to her and knowing that. And when I finally accused her in front of her face, she was like, yeah, what are you talking about? Of course. Of course you steal people's ideas. It's writing, dummy. Right? Because it was I got that info, but I've already talked to Natalie. So knowing when to backtrack and when to not backtrack, I think I need to get, I think I get much more into the rhythm of it when I'm more inclined to go, let me ask one question to George. All right, let me go ask one question to Natalie. All right, let me go ask one question to Rowan. Let me go ask one question to... that, I think you start to be able to get a proper thing of I've learned a new fact, let me show it to everybody, and not have to go through this rigmarole of no, I've talked to them already. I'll finish this conversation out. I think maybe I should be more free to be less focused in a weird way. I think might be better not to think, let's get everything this person has to say out of the way. And much more freely think of it as, I've got these 5 people the whole time. I'm going to ask them random questions as I jump around. you know? And I wonder if that would be better.
It's interesting that you can have different approaches. I'm almost thinking that I would be interested in knowing, hey, what does every individual person know about blurbophile? And just have it, be a one-sentence answer. And then I say, great, I think I now have the blurbophile side of this mystery.
Maybe that is what I should do.
And then once you've just got a tiny fragment of all of the pieces, then it's, I don't want to interrogate the people. I don't want to talk to the people.
No.
I want to sit here with the facts that I have.
Yes, I think maybe that's what I should do. Maybe that's the lesson I should learn for next time, or both of us. The idea of not, like, I very much have been trying to do, you know, and people have admonished me for this before, of like, you forgot to ask this question, you've got to ask that question.
Oh, you
and
can
thinking of
never
this
know
feeling
that.
of like, I should ask all the questions to the person while I've got them. But I've always got them. And so maybe it is more like, I should think, okay, let's talk about movements on the day. I'm going to ask every person just about their movements on the day. But I think what you lose then is a sense of that person having a character and getting a real feel for who they are. And I think who they are does help in a lot of these mysteries. And, you know, it's also more interesting for people. So that's hard to balance. You know what it reminds me of? The editing and the writing, but it feels like an editing decision even though it isn't, of The Residence as a murder
interesting.
mystery. Because that was very much like that. It would splice together
Yes, that's true.
15 interviews at once based on what they said about a particular issue or question.
Yeah.
So she would ask one question and then we would see 10 people's answers. You'd be like, great, now I know.
You almost sort of tried to do this at the start because you tried to keep everyone together. And I said, oh, that's going to be difficult for me to just jump between people. We're essentially talking about that, but still individualized.
But knowing that they can be a bit more controlled.
Yeah.
So you don't have to run it. I can run it. But it can be, all right, you know, I want to know what happened. Let's see what Baxter's account of what happened that day.
Yeah, if you just yelled Baxter and then I said Baxter's sentence.
Yeah. But then the worry that gets to is that then that just starts to feel like, Dani, can you give me a series of 20 clues and not actually be me investigating? It's just me being like, you know, ask about movements, enter, and in my little text parser, and then I get 15 responses and I look at and I read them and I see what's wrong. It doesn't feel quite the same. Like, I do want to feel like I'm doing the investigation, I'm leading it a bit more. And I worry that doing that might be a bit too, here's a keyword, give me all the information about this keyword, and then I'll go through it. And it doesn't feel like an actual natural investigation.
Yeah, and then so the solution to that is largely you have to try to feel out, have I asked everyone who could have useful information or just by vibes on this topic?
Yeah.
Like, does it feel like I have talked about blurbophile to everyone who it would be worth mentioning blurbophile to? I was very happy that you mentioned it to George because his response was essential.
I loved that. That was great for him trying to like downplay or being shocked that people know what it is, which makes sense if he's stealing from it and he doesn't expect to be caught. And kind of being like, oh, I know about it, I don't post it. Like that was really good. I really liked that. His understanding of that site being so important. And I think again, I might have like lost that feeling if I had just been like, let me ask everybody about blurbophile. What do you know about blurbophile? What do you know about like the idea of as an actual investigator being like, well, I'm having this conversation. Can I recall the things I want to ask? Is more reasonable, more natural to me. Like an actual investigator probably doesn't. It's harder to get like 8 people in a room and be like, I'm going to ask you one question and then walk away. They'll be like, what? Come back and they'll be like, I've got a second.
Both have their place in
Yeah,
these.
I mean, I can investigate. If like honestly, as someone who is investigating, I could learn that is a good method of investigation and do it that way.
I think there can be a nice mix in that.
Because
like you did that, you just went up to Natalie and said, "Hey, tell me about the pervert thing."
Well, yeah, as I was saying, like it really helped when I got to that stage. So maybe that is a bit more. It's I should think less about the cozier whodunit where each person gives their whole testimony and then you put them all together and think. Weirdly, going back to what I said I need to stop doing, think more about some of those like the police drama shows, but where they'll have like 3 people in different interrogation rooms. They'll walk into one and be like, all right, well, what are you going to tell me? Your friends are in the other room saying this. And then you go to the next person and say, all right, well, I heard about this. What do you have to say about that? And then just keep going in and out.
And yet it's interesting because I don't have much in here at all, and I rarely do, of, okay, if Bill has discovered this information from Natalie and brings it to Rowan, what's Rowan's reaction going to be? I don't have that. I expect you to keep it internalized and maybe ask questions, but not give them new stuff to work with.
Yeah. But I mean, it helps.
This is just, this is entirely a fault of me with improvising.
You know, it's just, it's interesting. It's like knowing about Blurbophile from Nicola does help me then ask about.
Now, I do have
Blurbophile.
a problem with this, is that why have we gone into this really negative? Like, I feel like we've gone into this saying, all right, here's all the ways that this failed.
No, I mean, it didn't fail. It went great. It was really enjoyable. I'm just trying to think about, like, what I could have done better.
You see what I mean, though?
Yeah. I don't know, it's because everyone keeps making fun of me. That's why. Because everybody's mean to me. That's why. Everyone's like, wow, this guy's real bad at investigating.
I'm
trying to get ahead of the comments.
I mean, I don't think that happened at all in Five Little Pigs, so you can see why it makes me feel like it's my writing.
Oh, no,
I feel like I'm not very good at writing these.
Oh, I wouldn't think that at all. I mean, all this came together. It made sense. It was good characters with a mystery that fit together. Like, yeah, I don't know. Oh, no, I was just trying to think of, like, I feel like I really got better halfway through, and I was trying to figure out what it was that changed. And I think it was being able to, like, interrogate multiple people at once as a way of approaching it. But I think the mystery was very nice. Do you know what the element that I really liked?
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting because it was my thing going into the end, saying right before I did the denouement, I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for this, and I was like, I've got all this evidence about people, but I kind of think Rowan did it. And you sort of laughed that off a little bit, even though it was true. And it was that fact of the reception thing, because it was, who needs this?
Mm.
And I knew there had to be something, the whole mystery. One of the things that I was missing, when I was talking about missing something, I knew there had to be something that would get someone to that place. There had to be a reason to go up, right?
Yeah.
And the two options were either someone who knew Paige had gone up, but okay, or just, is there anyone who might just be there? And right before we went into the denouement, that's what I wanted to start dissecting was, I think now the biggest thing I've learned about Rowan is he goes to the top of the hill. That is his thing. So I couldn't quite figure out why, but I went, it must have been him because he's the person who's there.
Yeah.
Like, he's been thrown into that situation. How do I resolve this? And I really love that element of it because I knew I was missing it for so long. And to finally be able to find it was just like, okay, now I have to rethink everything because now surely Rowan must have been at least super involved. And I loved that element of.
It was really interesting trying not to say it and just saying, yes, his prose is fine. It's okay. It's mediocre.
I'm so used to the idea of this being like not that modern. The idea of that being a thing. Like, how does someone suddenly go from really bad writing to just bland whatever writing? And you're like, oh yeah, it's probably a text part, like a language learning model. Oh, of course. I've never used ChatGPT. So it's just so far from my actual lived experience that it's hard to recall that it's a thing that people would just do. But of course they do. And I wonder if this is more informed by the fact that you're so much more involved in, like, people doing schoolwork.
Yes.
So that it comes up a bit more in your life.
Yes, I tutor school kids and I have to tell them repeatedly, like, yeah, ChatGPT will help your writing if you really suck and then it's not your writing. Like, it will be better than your writing only if you really suck. You are much more capable of than it is.
Yeah.
And they really have to push at that because, yeah, it's frustrating. I've read essays where literally some of the essay, and they fully admitted this, like some of it, like the bits that they struggled at were ChatGPT, and the bits that they were comfortable with were not ChatGPT. And it was just, the difference is frustrating. It's sad. So yes, it was definitely forefront of my mind. I thought it'd be pretty wild to write a story about writing and not include it. And then I did have some difficulty. I remember at the start, knowing that it was the ChatGPT who was the murderer was absolutely not a given. I knew that one person was going to... I've called them dummy using LLM, dummy plagiarizing, honest one who thinks they're inferior, bad-tempered, author in charge, campsite owner, non-fiction writer.
Yeah.
That was what I called them at the start. But yeah, the idea of which one of these people was the one who did the killing was up in the air for a bit.
Well, again, I think another thing that you're quite good at from a performance element is going like, oh, I've got all this stuff pointing at George doing the killing, but I don't believe it because he's George, you know? Like
this can be a worry sometimes. Like I complain about this in whodunit TV shows that the actors, when you've got the actors being an innocent person, they can be too innocent, or when they're the murderer, they can often they can be obviously the villain, but more often than not, they also come across as too innocent. So by the time you get to the end, you kind of feel silly and it doesn't feel right. It feels like you were a bit emotionally manipulated, not by a human, but by an actor.
Yeah, and I think that's when it comes off poorly, and I don't think yours do. I think what yours are is like you have a nice way of adding what feels like this is a piece of evidence to consider. And that piece of evidence is how they have reacted to X, Y, or Z.
It does also make me worried because I've said this before, like multiple times, with improving, coming up with new stuff and being entertaining, don't know. Improving realism can potentially do that better, which means that I am worried that it's going to be very obvious in my improving which one of these people is a murderer and which ones are innocent because I know the answer.
Yeah, and I don't think it was. Like, it's just
I appreciated how much you immediately talked to Rowan and said, I don't think you did it. That was relaxing.
Oh yeah, I didn't think you did it. No, I think there's like, it's the right level because it's not like a general attitude. It's like, I find a fact, I can bring that fact to a person and then expect a certain reaction. And if I get it, it doesn't really like add to it. It's like, great, this is what it is. But if it changes it, I can be like, oh, wait a minute. But how does that line up with this? And I always have in my head the option of, you know, maybe I'm misreading it. Like I didn't just go like, well, I now don't think it's George because he seemed really distraught. But it was like a piece of evidence. Like, well, how am I going to overcome that? If I want it to be George, which I do think it could be.
Certainly didn't feel like he had destroyed his own notes.
Exactly. So like, it then comes to things like, okay, well, let's say if he didn't do that, maybe he did do this. Like he still would want them like that, or, you know, or maybe he didn't know what he was destroying. So he destroyed a bunch of stuff and then realized, oh my God, I destroyed my own notes. That's what I'm sad about.
Yeah,
you know, and like,
could have been.
so it never feels like it is, oh, you've just given this away. It just feels like, okay, I've learned some new confounding element here. How do I justify that? Like, sometimes it's really cool. Like, I like doing it with Natalie and being like, well, how are people going to react to this book? And like, for George's reaction to Natalie's stuff being like, not that bothered, and Rowan being more bothered, kind of, it colors the picture in a really nice way. And I think you're good at that with the performance. That's what I worry about when I'm running them, that everyone is just sort of kind of people.
And it takes a moment. Like, I'm sure this was cut out of the edit, but there were a couple of times where I made you go, wait, hold on a second. I haven't thought about this, and I need to think about how this character is going to respond.
And honestly, this is one of those things. Sometimes, you know, you it used to be that would then put you in like, oh no, I'm so on the spot, and I have to. And now you're much more comfortable to say, I need to think of how that reaction should go. Let's just stop the recording, wait 5 minutes, and I'll tell you when to start again, and I'll have the reaction.
On that note, you quickly making me write something as Rowan? Exciting stuff.
I got to push the boundaries here. I got to make sure.
Oh, it was great.
I loved it. I thought it was a great bit to do.
It was very hard to decide what I should do. And at that point, I thought, let's try to come up with something that definitely not going to be good writing, but also is going to sound like something that you would tell an LLM if you wanted to say, hey, write me something that's describing a bedroom, but, you know, make it typical, but with a little bit of a different feature. I feel like that's something that someone might ask. Again, haven't used it.
It shows he's more practiced at prompt manipulation than he is at writing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think that sort of stuff was very cool. But again, that felt like this lovely element of, oh, I can do stuff here. Right? I've got writers, and I felt really fun doing that. And again,
absolutely.
I think
I love that.
Like now, being able for you to also be able to say, that is fun. Give me a second. Let me come up with that. And I think we've reached a nice point in not worrying about like, oh, what do I do in the moment? It's like, you don't have to do anything in the moment. Chill.
Yes, you know? And it's fun, and I love being able to do that. It does still worry me that I'm going to accidentally derail things in ways. Like, I was so happy when you realized the implications that Natalie was giving you, that this bland writing means ChatGPT, and then immediately going to, they were all using ChatGPT, and I had to go, oh crap, what have I done?
No. But yeah, again, like I put it out there, but it didn't hold water as an idea. It's like, oh no, wait a minute. I don't know if this is going to actually, like, you had to be like, are there? It's like, well, no. Like, let's actually think this through. The George element was interesting of him, like, he knows about the site. He is better but secretive, doesn't want to show other people. We know that other people here are using Blurbophile. And, like, the question as well is, like, if you are Paige, what can you notice? That was my big question the whole time, is like, okay, she saw George's notes. And now she says, I have evidence. Of what? Like, how is that evidence? Like, you see his notes and it's like, you know, what exactly do you see that makes you go, oh, now I understand? But presumably, yeah, it's like he's either she recognized individual passages, which maybe she did, or it was like notes of like where he got this one and where to do and like, how do I put these two blocks together? You know?
Yeah, his handwritten notes probably would have made it
Very clear
that
what
there was
he
some
was doing,
segmentation between them. Maybe it was like in these sorts of draft notes, some of them were in different text sizes and things like
different
that.
fonts, and just copied them straight. Didn't even Control-Shift-V, the fool. Yeah, I really like those elements of it, and I like that you had the classic murder mystery double cheat thing, but kind of almost tripled. Like, a bunch of them were doing something that is kind of on the surface wrong, and it's just various levels. And which one of these wrongdoings is wrongdoing enough to lead to murder? You know, it's like, oh, no, yeah, I was sneaking around, but it's because I was just stealing diamonds. I'm not a killer, I'm a diamond thief. All right, sure.
I love the character who is seen as, like, kind of, like, seems like they are doing something morally wrong and then absolutely defends themselves as doing nothing wrong.
Yes. Do you know the other thing I like that this mystery has which is, I think, really important when it comes to murder mysteries, which is not what is a motive that is objectively reasonable enough to kill someone, but it is here's a motive, would that character think that is enough to kill someone?
Assume that
it's not objective stuff.
Assume that you've got a person who has the capacity for killing inside them. What would set them off?
Exactly. And I think that's a thing that we've
talked about this before, about there's only like 3 motives.
Yeah, but it's
trying
like,
to push
you know,
on that.
You can exactly. It's
But
like finding
that
the thing
being
that
said-
a person would do.
That being said, that I feel like caused a slight stakes problem. You seemed uncertain at the end as you were denouementing based on that.
Yeah,
you were sort of
trying
going
to see if there's
just
some
for that.
further thing. It's like, is it just for that, or is there more? But like,
Which is sad. That's not fun when that happens.
yeah. But like in the end, it made perfect sense. I don't think I was unsure that was like the real motive. I was just unsure that I was missing if there was one other piece of evidence or proof that I could throw in his face, rather than just be like, have I got all the things here? Is there anything else I need? Is that enough? And it was enough. It feels like when it became an actual accusation, it's like, great, this is your world. I just wondered if there was. I think maybe I was searching, or not wanted, but I was wondering if I had missed some other piece of like, and the proof of that is this. But it was instead it was like, no, that is. Like, the proof of that is that it is, rather than, and here's another thing that will correlate or, you know, and prove that.
Will Rowan go to jail? I have no idea. I don't know if there's enough there for that.
yeah, exactly.
That's not what this is about.
But I had a lot of fun. Again, like, the characters all coming together and being people is really nice. The situation is great fun. I kind of really loved in the end that Baxter didn't have much to say. Even though I got to him, like, he was like, I don't know what you want from me.
I do wish you'd talk to him
I'm just
first.
bad at my job.
If I'd known that you weren't going to do much talking to him, I just would have like fused him with Simba.
Yeah, that's fair. Sim Baxter.
Oh.
But no, I had a lot of fun with it. It was really fun. And this is one that you were saying before when we started. You wrote this super quickly, right?
Yes.
How long did it take you to put this on together?
3 days.
It's pretty good for a Solve This Murder.
Yeah, I want to say that I think it's roughly the same. It's about the same quality as the ones that I took much longer to write back when I was writing them.
You think?
That's for sure. Yeah,
Like, I think they're all pretty good. Like,
yeah.
like Do you think that
I don't know.
the quality was the same for 3 days?
I feel
and more?
better.
Do you know how long you took to write the other ones?
No, not even slightly.
Do you think any of those were done in 3 days?
No, definitely not. But yeah, I know I take more time on the Agatha Christie's because, I read the Agatha Christie's like 5 times to make sure I've got everything. And I make notes on every single chapter, every single page. I do full ones of those. And, I specifically seek out Agatha Christie's that I feel are going to be interesting and feel good for our show. But so I think that naturally by the fact that I'm objectively selecting them a bit more, I feel more comfortable with them and they turn out better. But in general, any of the ones that I write, this was a stopgap while you write the next one. I'm back to not feeling particularly comfortable in this role.
Oh, I'm so shocked because I do think they're fun. They're good mysteries. I think they're good, like, character-driven mysteries that work really well. I think you pick the when you do a Christie, you find ones that have that same element, I think, in a nice way. So it's clearly something that you're drawn to and enjoy.
Yeah.
I sometimes feel like I'm not as good at getting that across in my mystery, so I try and find some other thing that I can use to fill that gap. Like, I don't trust my capacity to give you 2 distinct characters and allow their motivations to be clearer based on who they are. So instead, I'll just be like, I'll have to give you some big piece of physical smoking gun thing.
Which can be fun.
Yeah, I do sometimes feel like I need that because I don't trust the subtlety of it. I think you're better at the subtlety of the murder mystery. You're better at the character part of a murder mystery and being able to be like, here are the people. You should know what happened based on who they are. Whereas I'm much more, okay, I'm going to need to give you better evidence of what they've done so that you can do it based on that. So you can kind of collect their actions a bit more. Because, I don't think I'd like to be better at this sort of stuff that I think you do very well in your mysteries.
So what you're saying is when we combine our skills, it'll go great?
They'll be worse. It'll be terrible.
Awful.
We have a bunch of characters that didn't do anything and didn't think anything.
And no one wants to talk to or can talk to any of them.
But yeah, I think you had a character who, based on who they were, I could deduce everything about, like, where they would go each night and, what they, like, why they were doing it and the reasoning they might have to kill someone if they saw them there, right? And that was really encapsulated just in, like, a fact about who the person was. Whereas I feel uncomfortable, and I think maybe that's why I was looking for something else at the end, was just because I went, well, no, it seems like this is true, but from a writing perspective, I was like, I kind of feel like I don't have that capacity, so I want to be like, I need a thing that says, and that's the physical evidence now they were up there, or like, here's the person saying, and I saw a blue-hatted man go up the street, and then he's like, my name's, like, his username would be like Johnny Blue Hat on, and you'd be like, okay, he was the blue-hatted man, and I feel like I need those things because I don't think I trust my capacity to make it clear in the characterization.
Interesting.
And so I think that's why I wanted something else. Like, well, I couldn't do this.
I do find it quite rewarding when you.
I mean, yeah, because you're like, this is who they are. And in the end, that's all I needed to make it all work to come together. And I think that's something I don't trust myself as much in that space. And you do. And I think it works really well for you because the characters present themselves in a way that makes the thing solvable based on, just on the characters as presented, more so than needing to be like, here's the list of things that lead to that. Let's tick them all off and go. It's the sort of stuff that you, like, when we were doing Golden Idol, you needed a lot more of the everything must be ticked off in pure, like, for characters who will not. And
sorry, I don't know if that sentence finished.
I don't know. It feels like Golden Idol was much less like the characters were there, but it was very much where is all the individual pieces of physical evidence in the scene, and can you then prove it without a shadow of a doubt in the scene that this must have that way? Whereas I think you would work well with stuff that, like, I know that Will in those, when he was designing, would sometimes have these things be a lot more open to the people, and then he would have to keep adding in more physical evidence as it was playtesting. But I think his initial design thought was a bit more like yours of like, no, people can figure it out. And people could, it's just a lot of people had trouble.
I think that was why I had fun when we got to do our segments and additions to the overarching story. Like, there was a big character thing.
Yes. And
that I remember me in particular was going, I think we need to really make sure that this has been developed and doesn't come out of nowhere at the end. Right now, I think it's coming out of nowhere at the end. So we need to make sure that we sift this in. So it just, it doesn't even have to be like evidence that this is going on.
But
It just has to make it
sense.
feel right.
Yeah. And I think we're very good at that throughout Golden Island, because there were stuff that at the end they'd be like, well, here's all the building blocks that you need to make this true. It's like, yeah, but it doesn't feel good. So we need to make it long term feel like it reflects a person.
Yeah, these have got to be people.
And I think that's something I'd like to get better at, is this idea of, can I make a character who is in themselves evidence because of who they are? And I don't trust myself with that as much. And I think it worked really well in this mystery. And I think it has before, and I think it's why I'm sometimes bad at solving them, because I'm like, maybe I'm misreading this character. Oh no. Do I trust this? Is this enough? And it is enough. That's the only thing that made sense. Yeah, and so it's interesting. It's an interesting difference. I think that's like a fundamental difference in how they end up after we put them together.
We keep finding these little differences, don't we?
Yeah, we're a terrible, terrible couple. Look at all these terrible flaws we have. All these fundamental differences.
What do you think? Is that a mystery?
Yes, I loved it. It was great. I had a lot of fun with it. Yeah, it's interesting. Weirdly, I have both that feeling of like, I need to think about the characters holistically, but also I kind of want to stop talking to them holistically and start breaking them up into how they react. Like, get a better picture of each person based on multiple reactions to different individual things. Like, take an idea and apply each person to that idea, rather than take a person and try and get all the ideas
Who
on
can
them.
say?
Does that make any sense? I don't think it does. This was a shorter one, 4 episodes.
Yeah.
So whoever was the detective of the Ark, they may have got in really early with it.
Yes, entirely possible.
Sorry, detective, I didn't speak to Rowan until the end. Like always.
Just kept happening, and you kept lampshading it and apologizing for it throughout, and I was seething a little bit.
You know why?
Oh.
Because the physical evidence is not going to point to the criminal, because the criminal is the evidence.
Yep.
The person is the evidence, and I'm looking for the evidence to lead me to the person.
Was explicitly destroyed.
Sorry, everybody. I got you again. Wonderful. Thank you so much for running it, Dani, and writing it. It was wonderful.
Thank you for playing.
I really liked it. And I'm excited to do the next one. I think there are elements that I say there's stuff I'm not comfortable with. I feel like there are elements of this that I'm learning to work into it, and have already a little bit about the way the characters reflect stuff. So hopefully there's a bit more of that. Where do you start with things in yours? Because I will say the very first thing I wrote, literally the words writer's retreat. And as soon as I had written that, I turned the page and went, yeah, I can work with this. So I've written the writer's retreat and then gone straight to, here are the 6 characters. I've done very similar in mine. Though in the one I'm working on now, I've gone, here is the premise of the kind of the idea of the type of mystery I want to do. But again, it almost feels like I'm writing a puzzle rather than a mystery. So it's like, here's the type of mystery that I wanted to have.
Yeah,
that's
that's my following paragraph. After I've got the people, and then I've got B has been stealing content from people online, including A and maybe C, not realizing everyone uses the same site. D only swipes ideas, which is rude but not illegal. F has realized B's theft and decides to try their hand in investigative journalism. Something broken at campsite. E's fault puts F in wrong place at wrong time, so A thinks F is the plagiarist and kills them. That was where that was my concept of it, but the characters, the archetypes came first, and what I wanted them to act like came first.
Well, this is interesting. From the one I'm working on now, I had a moment of like, here's the kind of mystery I want to work on. Again, very much more evidence heavy. Not at the time, but like I thought it might be. And then I went, oh, you know what? After I've come up with this idea of what the type of mystery is, it does not inherently create particular characters. So I can right now come up with 6 characters, not based on like the setting or the idea, but just who are 6 people, and then I will build the intricacies of the mystery around those 6 people.
Yeah, right.
But I have this moment of like, I can just come up with 6 people.
Oh, it's frightening freedom.
So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to come up with 6 individual people, and now I'm going to see how they interact and how I can build the mystery out of it.
If I'd wanted to, I could have absolutely built into these characters. They've just come together for a writer's retreat, but their lives in the real world are completely different, and I didn't. That wasn't what I wanted.
I've got a little bit more of that on this one.
Yeah, cool. That's good. For a proper full-size mystery. I think that's fun.
But it'll be interesting to see if it all comes together. I'm pretty hopeful for where I'm at. I've got a lot of it done, and most of it's there. I just got to finalize the details now. The details. Oh, Details. But look, thank you so much for running it. It was great. I really enjoyed it. I solved it.
Yeah.
I'm the king.
That's what you want.
That's what you want. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I hope you all enjoyed it. I really hope you're listening along. And yeah, thank you so much for if you are supporting us on Patreon. Thank you so much. Anyone, if you want to support us at all, like feel free, just talk about the show, talk about it online, post about it, spread the word, tell your friends, tell anyone who's cool about the show. Honestly, it really does help. But you can also help support us on Patreon with some actual cash money, which is the only way we make an income through this. So thank you. It keeps us being able to make these shows and keep writing them and doing Escape This podcast as well and doing all that.
And it means that your names may be used for murderers, victims, dirty, dirty cheats.
Or books. Because in this,
Yes.
who are the patrons we use for this episode, for this mystery, Dan?
So thank you so much to Rowan Bora, George Cruz, Nicola Flatman, Natalie Ford, Baxter Barrett, Paige Kaplinski, and of course, Iridescent Oracle.
Yes, you became a book. A stolen book. But yeah, anybody who supports us at any level can appear as an NPC in one of the mysteries. But yeah, there's also there's weekly bonus audio content. There's a whole, for our $10 donors, there's monthly videos, as well as a new weekly podcast where we talk about the TV show Charmed. You may notice it has nothing to do with any of the other work that we do, but it's a really fun show and it's really fun to watch.
And
I
think some people in our Discord are starting like a watch party channel.
Yeah, which is great. That's very cool. So yeah, there's lots of fun. We try and put a lot of fun stuff. They're doing cryptic crosswords and 2-minute mysteries and playtests and a whole bunch of fun stuff. So
we got a lot of stuff up there.
it's just a nice place to check out all the kind of extra, somewhat a mix of interesting but also kind of low effort and fun, loose content there. But yeah, go and check it out if you want to help support the show. But we really appreciate everybody who does. And it keeps shows like this free for you to listen to. So you can thank them yourself. If you see a patron on the street, thank them for their donations on your behalf for getting free Solve This Murder through the grace of their donations.
Excellent.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you again, Dani, for running it. I had a heap of fun, and I solved it, and I cracked the case.
Woo.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for listening to Solve This Murder. To support the show, you can sign up for our Patreon and receive weekly bonus episodes, monthly videos, and full access to all parts of new Solve This Murder mysteries on day one. Thanks to all our patrons for supporting us. Thanks to Advanced Sagebrush and Shootouts for our theme music. And thanks again to all of you for listening.